Hi, I'm Christoph from Berlin, Germany, and I work for KDAB. In this series, I talk about my daily life as an embedded developer. In part 1 of this video, I showed and explained all the steps to install GammaRay on an embedded target. If you already have it running, then you do not need to watch part 1, but otherwise I recommend you to do so. So let's get started. The first feature I'm going to show you is GammaRay can help you when you do not have an actual screen with your application. So as you can see, I only have my embedded board here where I started the application. I then attached GammaRay, and as you can see, I can watch the whole application run within my screen here on my desktop computer. So I can even interact, and when I interact, I can change all the things that are happening inside here. See me also changing this line edit here, hello world. And all of this without an actual screen. But now, due to GammaRay, I'm able to inspect the application and even debug it. Another feature of GammaRay that I really like is the remote control functionality. When we look in our settings up top here, there's the pick element button, and right next to it, there's the redirect input button. When I click that, all my clicks that I do here within GammaRay will become touch events on my screen here, such that when I click on settings here, it actually changes to the settings tab here as if I would have touched this on this place. I can even go back and it still works. This comes in handy when your touchscreen is not really touch enabled yet, or you have problems with your touch driver, but still want to find out something in your application on embedded. The classical feature of GammaRay I also want to show you here on embedded. That would be to see all the properties of all the elements that are within our current scene. I can go back to my picker element, and then I will just select whatever element I want to inspect. And then here on the right, I will see all the properties of this element. And I can see all the current properties. And what's really cool is I can even change the current properties. So here I'm looking for the rotation of this element. I can go in, say it's now 30 degrees. I change it. And as you can see, when I change it here, it also changes in my current scene. So with GammaRay, we can just see everything that's going on in terms of the QML properties, and we can even change it. How cool is that? A problem that I often have is that I maybe come back to my code after quite some time of waiting. And now I need to fix a problem within an element that I don't know where it is anymore. In which QML file was that line edited that I now have a problem with? So in GammaRay, I can just select the item and then go to the QML context. Inside the QML context, I see all the files that reference this element. On the bottom, there would be the text field.qml, but I already see this is probably related to Qt and the internal implementation of that text field. On top, there's compass page, and on top of that, in turn, there is main.qml. Main.qml is too general. Probably in compass page, there's my mistake. I go to compass page, right click, and I can even go to the QML code to inspect it. So here I can scroll down, find my label, and possibly already find the issue, which I can later fix in my application. A problem in embedded that occurs very often, and especially in the case of embedded, is missing symbols in the application. As you can see, I've now focused this line edit element here, which you can see on the screen. Currently, it just shows line edit, which is easy. But let's say I wanted to show Gangnam Style in the original Korean. This would be like this. And if I hit enter, you will see that all the symbols actually became little square boxes. So I know that this wouldn't work in my actual application. So if a user typed it in with a Korean keyboard, it wouldn't work because the fonts are missing the symbols. there's a great tab here on the side, which is called Font Browser, which we can use to inspect all the fonts and all the texts that we can possibly type in and how they are displayed on our embedded system. So on top of here, there's a text field where I can type characters, for example, my Gangnam Style again, and I can check whether it's going to be displayed in any way in the application in the future. We can see it's not really working. If I type some German characters, for example, I see all these characters would still work, and I can see that in all the different settings, for example, bold, italic, or underline, and I can see how that would look like. So with this, I can verify that some of the symbols will work indeed in the future, some symbols might not work. This might be dependent on your user group and customers. Another event that we often want to inspect are touches in embedded. So I might touch on my screen, but nothing happens. And I want to find out why is that. So in GammaRay, what I use is the events window here, so the events tab. I can see all the events that are going on. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of events currently. What I can do is I can clear the history and just pause it for a second and specifically filter for touch events. So when I write here touch and unpause, I will only record touch events. When I now click here or touch, then I can record all the events that are happening inside my application. So I see a touch begin, I see a touch end at the end, and to the right, I can inspect all the touch points with their individual positions, and I can verify to which item in my scene this touch event is actually sent to. So I can see whether my event got the click or didn't get the click. In the case of embedded, some programs often get started within scripts. That means we do not see their output immediately, and that's actually a bummer. We actually want to see all the logging output from the application such that we can find mistakes quickly. Maybe it's already warning us for something, but we don't see it. GammaRay can help us with this. We can go to the messages section and we can see all the messages that were sent to us in a single window first. When we go to the categories tab, we see all the possible logging categories that exist within Qt. Here in this case, I would be interested in the time that it takes to render. So I can enable the information or debugging section on this Qt scene graph time renderer category. When I now go back to messages, I will see the time it takes to render a new frame every time a new frame is rendered. In this way, I can inspect the performance easily without having to restart the application. That's nice. This was just for using GammaRay on embedded. If you want to learn more about GammaRay, I highly recommend our full GammaRay series. You can find the link in the description. It shows way more details on GammaRay. Just go there and watch it. If you want to be notified when my next video comes out, don't forget to subscribe. See you soon and auf Wiedersehen.